I want you to do something for me for a second. Pull out your calendar and scroll back to late January. Specifically, I want you to look at the dates around January 20th through the 22nd.
Okay.
Now, really think back. Did you feel, well, off? Maybe you had this sudden wave of anxiety you couldn't explain.
Or maybe you felt dizzy a little bit, like the room was tilting.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe you were just dead tired, physically exhausted, but you just lay there staring at the ceiling all night.
It's a very specific set of symptoms, and I think a lot of people just brushed it off, post-holiday stress or maybe a bug going around.
Right.
But if you were feeling that specifically on those dates, you weren't imagining it. And more importantly, you weren't alone.
Exactly. We're talking about what happened when the sun decided to wake up and absolutely rage.
Yeah.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into a specialized report called When the Sun Rages. And just to be clear, this isn't about getting a sunburn or a heat wave. We're looking at the impacts of a G4 severe geomagnetic storm.
Precisely. This falls into a field that's known as clinical cosmobiology, or sometimes heliobiology.
It sounds a little bit like science fiction.
It does, doesn't it? But it's actually a very grounded, data-driven discipline. It studies how solar activity, what we call space weather, interacts directly with biological systems here on Earth.
And the mission for this deep dive is pretty specific. We're not just here to talk about the pretty northern lights, though those were definitely part of it. We're investigating the physical impact on the human body. We're talking about really specific things like heart palpitations, vertigo, and insomnia.
And that's the key distinction we need to make. Usually when you hear about solar storms on the news, the focus is all on power grids or satellites getting knocked out.
Sure, the technology.
Right. But heliobiology flips the lens to look at us, at human physiology. We want to understand why a storm in space might make you feel like your heart is skipping a beat while you're sitting safely on your couch.
It's fascinating and honestly a little terrifying to think we're that connected to the sun.
It is?
So let's unpack the timeline because the data on this is incredibly precise. We have an incident report here that tracks planetary stress over those 48 hours.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through what we're looking at on this graph?
Right. So if you're looking at the data visualization, we are tracking something called the K-pip index.
The K-pip index.
Just think of it like a thermometer for planetary magnetic stress. It's a scale that goes from 0 to 9. On January 20th, we hit what's called the precursor phase.
Okay.
The K-pip index climbed to 5. Now, technically, that classifies as a G1 storm.
G1 doesn't sound too bad. It sounds like a gentle breeze, almost.
You'd think so.
But looking at the notes here, there's something alarming right off the bat. It says stroke risk rises about 27% even at this level.
It does.
And that sensitive people start reporting insomnia right then.
That's what we call the prodromal phase. It's your body sensing the shift before the main event actually hits.
The calm before the storm.
It is, but your biology is already reacting. But then look what happens on January 21st and 22nd. That's the peak. The KVIE index shot all the way up to 8. That's a G4, a severe storm.
And that's where the numbers get really scary. I'm looking at the stats for the G4 phase. Stroke risk rises by over 50%.
Yeah.
And it mentions microcirculation is impaired.
Yes. Blood flow in your tiniest vessels gets significantly impaired. And this is the crucial context for everyone listening. This wasn't psychological.
Right.
You didn't just happen to get anxious on the 21st. The physical symptoms reported by patients tracked perfectly with this climb in magnetic intensity.
So from the warning phase to the recovery phase.
Our biology mirrored the physics of the storm.
So people were physically reacting to planetary stress. Let's break down exactly what that felt like, because the report uses a phrase I've never heard before. The cosmic flu.
It's a useful term because it helps differentiate these symptoms from, say, a virus or a bacterial infection. There were 3 main areas of impact, a triad, if you will.
Okay.
The first one is the heart.
Palpitations. This is one I actually heard friends complaining about. Sudden rapid heartbeats or that feeling of skipped beats.
Right.
And the important note here is that it wasn't happening while they were at the gym. It was happening at rest.
Yes, people described a feeling of anxiety, but without any emotional trigger. It's like your body was panicked, but your mind was fine.
That disconnect.
That disconnect between body and mind is a classic hallmark of geomagnetic stress. The second part of the triad involves the inner ear severe vertigo.
This one is really distinctive. The report describes it as land sickness. You know that feeling when you get off a boat after a long day?
And it still feels like the ground is swaying.
Yeah, or just a weird floating sensation.
Exactly that, combined with a sense of heaviness. And then the third symptom is neuromuscular, eyelid twitching.
Ah, the dreaded eye twitch. I always just thought that was from drinking too much coffee.
Well, caffeine can certainly do it too, but in this context, it's an involuntary autonomic fasciculation. And the editor's note here is vital. These symptoms are distinct from viral fatigue or typical stress because of their sudden onset right at the same time as that KP index spike.
So if you felt fine on the 19th, fell apart on the 21st, and felt fine again on the 23rd.
That's a strong signal that this was environmental.
Okay, so we know what happened.
Yeah.
We have the timeline and the symptoms, but this is the part I always struggle with, the why.
Yeah.
How does a storm 93 million miles away make my eyelid twitch?
It comes down to a fundamental reality that we often ignore. We're bioelectromagnetic systems.
Right.
We tend to think of ourselves as just, chemical bags of meat and bones, but we run on electricity. Our nervous system, our heart, our brain waves, it's all electrical.
So in a way, we're acting like antennas.
In a very literal sense, yes. The report highlights specific structures in the body that act as receivers. Take the brain and the pineal gland, for example.
Yeah.
The pineal gland interprets magnetic storms as light.
Which explains the insomnia, but we'll get to that in a minute. What about the other parts?
Well, you have the retina and the inner ear. These tissues contain cryptochromes and even magnetite crystals.
Wait, hold on. Magnetite,
Mm-hmm.
as in magnets. We have actual crystals in our bodies.
We do. Microscopic crystals of magnetite. They act as biological compasses.
Wow.
We've known for a long time that birds and whales use them to navigate, but we have them too. And they physically react to shifting magnetic fields.
So it's not just in our heads.
No. And of course, the heart and the autonomic nervous system, or ANS, directly couple with these geomagnetic fluctuations.
It's wild to think we have crystals in our heads that align with the Earth. Let's dig deeper into that first mechanism you mentioned, the cardiovascular stress. You said the autonomic nervous system is involved.
This is usually the first system to respond. The ANS has two modes, parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest state,
Right.
and sympathetic, which is fight or flight. During a magnetic storm, the magnetic changes push the body into sympathetic overdrive.
So you're stuck in fight or flight mode even if you're just sitting at your desk answering emails.
Precisely. Your body thinks it's under attack. And we can measure this through something called HRV, or heart rate variability.
I see that term on my smartwatch all the time.
It's a measure of your heart's adaptability. High HRV is good. It means you can handle stress and switch gears easily.
Okay.
During the storm, HRV drops. Your heart becomes like a metronome, just beating rigidly, which is a sign of deep stress.
And there's a significant data insight here about gender that we need to touch on.
The gender gap.
I was reading this part of the report and I did a double take. The research indicates women are significantly more sensitive to magnetic storms.
It's a stark difference. The data suggests myocardial infarction, a heart attack. The risk can increase up to 3 times more for women during these events compared to men.
3 times. That's massive.
It is. And the sources cited are heavy hitters. Harvard School of Public Health confirmed the HRV reduction, and communications medicine noted that acute heart risks rise anywhere from 25 to 60%. This isn't subtle. It's a measurable, dangerous physiological impact.
Okay, so that explains the heart issues. Now, help me with the second mechanism, the vertigo. This part of the report gets into some serious physics. It mentions microcirculation and something called the Lorentz force.
Right. Let's tackle microcirculation first. This is about hemodynamics, how your blood moves. Studies show that magnetic field changes actually increase blood viscosity.
It makes our blood thicker.
Slightly, yes. And this slows down microcirculation. The blood flow in the tiniest capillaries, especially in the brain. That contributes to that feeling of head heaviness or brain fog.
Because you're not getting as much oxygen.
The supply fluctuates just a little bit. Now, the Lorentz force...
That sounds like something from a superhero movie.
It's a fundamental principle of physics. The Lorentz force is the force exerted on a charged particle moving through a magnetic field. Now, remember those fluids in your inner ear? The endolymph.
And the stuff that sloshes around and tells me which way is up.
Exactly. That fluid contains ions-charged particles. When a strong magnetic wave hits, the Lorentz force physically acts on that fluid and on those magnetite crystals we mentioned.
It pushes them.
It creates a physical pressure or movement inside your ear.
So my inner ear is physically telling my brain we are moving, but my eyes are telling my brain we're sitting still.
And that mismatch creates the vertigo or the land sickness. It's a sensory conflict. The report also notes that about 10 to 20% of the population has Electromagnetic hypersensitivity, meaning they feel this much more intensely.
Wow, that explains so much about the dizziness. Okay, mechanism 3, the sleep crash. The report calls it the melatonin crash.
This is essentially a biological error. As we touched on, the pineal gland is responsible for producing melatonin, the sleep hormone.
All right.
It relies on cues from the environment, usually light and dark. But the pineal gland is uniquely sensitive to magnetic fields.
So when the magnetic field goes crazy, the pineal gland gets confused.
It misinterprets the intense geomagnetic storm as light. It thinks it's daytime, or at least that there's some kind of major disruption. So it suppresses melatonin production just when you need it most.
And without melatonin, you just can't stay asleep.
Exactly. The report calls it magnetic circadian disruption. It mimics the physiological effects of jet lag, like you just flew to Tokyo, but you haven't crossed any time zones.
That perfectly describes that feeling of being tired but wired. The symptoms listed here are shallow sleep, vivid dreams, frequent waking.
And insomnia, despite being physically exhausted, it's your internal clock losing its synchronization with the planet.
So if we pull this all together into the symptom matrix, the correlation is pretty undeniable. Palpitations from sympathetic overdrive, vertigo from the Lorentz force, sleep disorders from pineal suppression.
And let's not forget the twitch detail.
Yes, the eyelid twitch. I want to circle back to that because it seems so random. Why does that happen?
It's actually pure chemistry. Magnetic storm stress leads to a rapid consumption of magnesium ions in the body. It also alters calcium ion channels. When magnesium drops and those calcium channels shift, you get increased neuromuscular excitability.
So the nerves in my eyelid are literally firing because my magnesium was depleted by the storm.
Correct. It's an electrolyte imbalance triggered by environmental stress.
That is just wild. Okay, so we've looked at the human impacts. Let's zoom out a bit. What actually happened on the sun to cause all this chaos?
We need to look at the anatomy of a solar storm. There's a common confusion I hear a lot between a solar flare and a CME.
A flare is just a flash of light, right?
Essentially, yes. A flare is a flash of X-rays. It travels at the speed of light, gets here in 8 minutes, and mostly affects radio communications.
Okay.
But what hit us in January was a CME, a coronal mass ejection. Imagine a massive cloud of charged plasma being hurled into space.
And that takes a couple of days to get here.
Right, and when that plasma cloud slams into Earth's magnetic shield, the magnetosphere, it rattles the cage. That's the storm.
And the report confirms a CME was the cause of this G4 event.
It was the primary cause, yes.
And there was a visual indicator mentioned, the red aurora. I saw pictures of this online. It looked ominous.
Yes. Usually auroras are green. A red aurora is a high-altitude oxygen emission. It only happens during very severe storms that bombard the upper atmosphere, usually 300 kilometers up or higher.
So seeing a red aurora is a hallmark of a G4 or G5 event.
It is. It's beautiful, but it signals chaos. And it wasn't just humans feeling this, right? The report has a whole section called Nature's Witnesses.
It seems the whole biosphere was resonating with this.
Biological magnetoreception is universal. We aren't the only ones with those crystals. The report lists whales, for instance.
Right.
Duke and NASA studies have shown that magnetic noise from storms causes navigation errors. It's like their GPS gets jammed, leading to beach strandings.
And homing pigeons?
Same mechanism. The cryptochromes and their retinas get jammed, their flight paths become chaotic. Even bacteria, magnetotactic bacteria, have internal magnetic organs that lose their orientation.
In plants.
Their root growth and circadian rhythms are altered. When the planetary compass spins, all life feels the confusion. We aren't special. We're just part of the ecosystem.
It really puts it in perspective. We tend to think we're so separate from nature.
But we're really not.
And speaking of perspective, the report mentions this isn't a new thing either. We've been seeing this for thousands of years.
Oh, absolutely. The historical echoes section is fascinating. It connects our modern anxiety to ancient omens. Take ancient China. They recorded these red auroras as the Qiyu banner, a crimson omen of war.
Wow, and there's a story about ancient Rome.
Yes, Emperor Tiberius. It's actually kind of funny in hindsight. He dispatched troops to the port city of Ostia because he saw a deep red glow on the horizon.
He thought the city was on fire.
He was convinced it was burning down.
Imagine marching all night to put out a fire, and it turns out to be space weather.
It happened. And of course, the benchmark event for all of this is the 1859 Carrington event. That was the strongest storm on record. It was so powerful that telegraph lines literally sparked and caught on fire.
If that happened today, with our grid.
It would be catastrophic. But even these smaller G4 storms give us plenty to handle.
And the difference between Tiberius and us is that we can measure it. We have wearable data verification.
This is the Sentinel on your wrist. We have modern proof. Millions of people wear Apple Watches or Aura rings.
And those devices picked up the stress.
Clearly, the low sleep scores people saw on January 21st weren't subjective. They were objective recordings of environmental stress. Devices tracked the drop in deep sleep due to that melatonin suppression we talked about.
And the HRV decline.
The gold standard for autonomic stress. The report mentions the Warrior Watch study from Mount Sinai, which showed HRV can predict stress days in advance, and the Apple Heart study from Stanford validated the accuracy of AFib detection. So when your watch tells you your stats are tanking during a solar storm, believe it, it's not a glitch.
So we know it's real. We know it happens. The big question is, what do we do? I can't exactly turn off the sun.
Right.
The report gives us defense strategies. Let's start with physiology and diet.
The goal here is to counteract what the storm is depleting. Since we know magnesium ions are being consumed rapidly to manage that stress, the action plan is magnesium and potassium loading.
So supplements.
Supplements or just dietary changes. Spinach, bananas, avocados. The pro tip here is to start supplementing when the forecast says KP is greater than 5.
Don't wait for the symptoms to hit.
Exactly. If you see the forecast rising, start the magnesium then.
And hydration.
Crucial. Remember the blood viscosity issue. Thicker blood needs more water to flow. Hydration improves microcirculation and can help relieve that vertigo sensation.
And then there's light.
Blue light reduction. Your pineal gland is already fighting a magnetic battle. It's already confused. Don't blast it with more blue light from screens. You need to protect whatever melatonin production you have left.
That's the physical stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also defense strategy number 2, biohacking and mindset.
This is about resilience. One technique is earthing or grounding.
You mean walking barefoot? That always sounded a bit woo-woo to me.
It does sound that way, but physically it makes perfect sense. Walking barefoot on grass or soil helps balance your internal charge. It can help release that environmental electromagnetic stress.
And breathing.
Resonance breathing. This is an active intervention to force your HRV back up. Slow, rhythmic breathing activates the parasympathetic system. You're manually telling your body, we are safe.
Overriding the magnetic stress signal.
Exactly. And I love the point about mindset reframing, too.
This is powerful.
It's shifting from unknown anxiety to cosmic awareness. If you feel anxious and don't know why, your brain spirals. You think, what's wrong with me?
Right.
But if you know, oh, this is just a G4 storm, my amygdala is reacting to magnets, it reduces the psychological burden immediately.
It's not I'm losing my mind, it's the sun is loud today.
Exactly. The loop is monitor with your watch, intervene with breathing and grounding.
So, to wrap this all up, the conclusion of the report is 3 words. Monitor, adapt, respect.
We are children of the universe. From the whale's navigation to your heartbeat, our biology vibrates in sync with the sun. We can't escape it.
It's about moving from that place of confusion, why do I feel sick, to a place of conscious adaptation.
And a final serious note from the report. Cardiovascular patients and sensitive groups need to maintain heightened awareness when the KP index is greater than 5. It's a real environmental factor, just like extreme heat or cold.
If you have a heart condition, take it seriously.
Absolutely.
It really changes how you look at the sky. It's not just empty space out there, it's weather, and we feel it.
We absolutely do.
Well, that is it for this deep dive into the sun's rage. Hopefully you're sleeping a little better now that the storm has passed.
Until the next one.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Stay grounded.